You know that feeling when you get to the end of the day and realize you barely remember any of it, like you just went through the motions without actually being there. It can feel like a huge thing to fix, but the shift back into feeling awake and present might be much simpler than you think. Today we are going to talk about one specific practice that helps you step out of autopilot and start experiencing your life more fully in the moments that matter. This matters because so much of our daily stress and disconnection comes from living on repeat, reacting instead of really living. When you start bringing more awareness into your ordinary routines, something small but real begins to shift in how you feel each day. The truth is, the biggest block is often not a lack of time or energy, but a simple habit of rushing through life without noticing. In this video, I will walk you through this one change, step by step, in a calm and very practical way you can try right away. So let's start with the first part of the practice, which is learning to spot when autopilot takes over. Living on autopilot is when you move through your day without really being present for any of it. It's that feeling of arriving at your destination with no memory of the drive, or finishing a meal without tasting a single bite. Your body is going through the motions, but your mind is somewhere else, stuck in the past or worrying about the future. This isn't a character flaw, it's a natural survival mechanism your brain uses to save energy on routine tasks. The problem is that this habit can spread from boring chores to the moments that actually matter, like time with loved ones or quiet evenings. When you're on autopilot, you're technically alive, but you're not fully awake to your own life. The first step is simply noticing when you've checked out without judging yourself for it, and that brings us to why this matters so much for your everyday well-being. The reason this matters is that a life lived on autopilot is a life that feels hollow and forgettable. When you're not present, you miss the small joys that make up a good day, like the warmth of sunlight or a friend's laugh. Your brain also stays stuck in a low-level stress loop because it's always scanning for problems instead of resting in the moment. Being awake to your life doesn't mean you'll be happy all the time, but it does mean you'll actually experience your own existence. A common misunderstanding is that being present is about forcing positivity, but it's really about simple awareness without judgment. The relief here is that you don't need to change your whole schedule, you just need to show up for the life you're already living. When you practice this, even ordinary moments start to feel richer and more meaningful. To understand this better, let's look at what life actually feels like when this presence is missing. When presence is missing, your days start to blur together into one long gray stretch of routine. You might find yourself constantly rushing from one task to the next, never really stopping to breathe. Conversations become automatic, where you nod and respond without truly listening to the other person. You might also notice that you feel disconnected from your own emotions, like you're watching your life from a distance. A realistic truth is that this state often feels normal because most people around you are living the same way. The downside is that you can go weeks or months without a single memory that feels vivid or real. This isn't about being lazy or broken, it's just a sign that your brain has fallen into a deep habit of distraction. So what keeps us stuck in this pattern? Let's explore the common habits and beliefs that block us from waking up. If this idea of waking up from autopilot really connected with you, I would love to hear about it. Take a second to drop a comment below and let me know what part felt most relatable. Maybe it was the part about zoning out during your morning routine, or the feeling of rushing through your whole day. Either way, your words might help someone else feel less alone in their own experience. While you are down there, go ahead and give this video a like if it added something useful to your day. And if you have not already, consider subscribing to the channel so we can keep exploring these small shifts together. There's more to come on living with more intention and less autopilot. Thanks for being here, and keep watching for the next part of this conversation. One of the biggest blocks is the habit of constant digital distraction, like checking your phone during every spare second. Another common pattern is multitasking, where you try to do 3 things at once and end up fully present for none of them. There's also the belief that being busy equals being productive, so you fill every moment with noise and activity. A practical detail is that your brain actually craves these distractions because they give it a quick hit of dopamine. The misunderstanding here is that you need to eliminate all distractions completely, but that's not realistic or necessary. The helpful insight is that you just need to create small pockets of space where you allow yourself to be still. Recognizing these habits is the first step, because you can't change what you don't see. Once you see them, the next move is to shift your mindset, which is what we'll talk about now. The first mindset shift is to stop seeing presence as something you have to earn or achieve. Many people think being present is a skill you need to practice for years, but it's actually your natural state. You don't have to become a meditation master, you just have to remember that you're already here. A practical detail is that presence is more about letting go of distraction than about adding another task to your to-do list. The realistic truth is that your mind will wander, and that's okay. The goal isn't perfection, it's return. The relief in this shift is that you can stop pressuring yourself to be mindful all the time. Instead, you can simply aim to catch yourself when you drift and gently come back. With this mindset in place, let's move to the first practical step you can take to begin changing this. The first practical step is to pick one small routine activity and do it with full attention today. It could be something as simple as brushing your teeth, washing your hands, or walking from your car to your front door. During that activity, just notice the physical sensations, like the feeling of water on your skin or the sound of your footsteps. A common pitfall is that your mind will try to pull you away into thinking, and that's when you gently guide it back. The benefit here is that you're training your brain to be present in a low-stakes, easy environment. You don't need to do this for an hour. Even 30 seconds of full attention can make a difference. The key is to do it without judgment, just observing what's happening in the moment. Once you get comfortable with this small step, you'll be ready to expand that awareness into more of your day, which is exactly where we're headed next. So what does this actually look like when you start living more awake instead of on autopilot? It's not about dramatic changes, but small shifts in how you move through your day. For example, you might notice the feeling of your feet on the ground when you walk to your car, or you might pause for a second before answering a text just to check in with yourself. It's not about being perfect at this because your mind will still wander, and that's okay. The difference is that you catch yourself more often and gently bring your attention back. Over time, these small moments add up, and your day starts to feel less like a blur. This is the foundation for the next step, which is a simple practice you can weave into your routine. One of the most effective ways to support this is to pick one ordinary activity and do it with full attention. It could be something as simple as brushing your teeth or washing your hands. The idea is to focus only on that action, noticing the sensations, the sounds, and the movements. When your mind drifts to your to-do list or a worry, just guide it back to the activity without judgment. This isn't about adding another chore to your day, but about transforming something you already do. The benefit is that you train your brain to be present in a low-pressure, repeatable way. Start with just 1 minute of this each day, and you'll build a habit that feels natural. But be careful, because there's a common mistake people make when they try this, and it can trip you up. If you are looking for more gentle ways to stay present and feel less like you are just going through the motions, I have a suggestion. Head over to www.happylifetribe.com, where you will find a whole library of practical ideas and encouragement. That space is built for people who want to build a calmer, more intentional life, one small step at a time. You will find articles, reflections, and simple tools that fit right into your everyday routine. It is not about perfection or big life overhauls, just real support for the moments when you need a reset. Whether you are trying to slow down, feel more grateful, or just breathe a little easier, there is something there for you. Think of it as a quiet corner of the internet where you can come for calm living inspiration. I hope you will stop by and see what speaks to you. A big mistake people make is trying to be mindful all the time, which just leads to frustration. They think they have to constantly monitor their thoughts and never let their mind wander. But that's not realistic, and it actually creates more tension and pressure. The truth is, your brain is designed to wander, and that's a normal part of being human. The goal isn't to stop your mind from drifting, but to notice when it does and gently return. If you beat yourself up for zoning out, you're just adding stress on top of the autopilot habit. Instead, treat each moment of noticing as a small win, not a failure. This kind of approach makes the whole process feel much more realistic and less overwhelming. To keep this from feeling like another thing on your to-do list, start with just 1 moment per day. Pick a time when you're already doing something simple, like waiting for your coffee to brew. Use that small window to take one deep breath and notice where you are right now. You don't need to clear your mind or sit in silence for 10 minutes. The key is to lower the bar so low that it feels almost too easy to do. When you set tiny, achievable goals, you build confidence instead of resistance. Over time, these small moments naturally expand without you forcing them. As this becomes more natural, you'll start to notice real changes in how you feel emotionally and mentally. When you start living more awake, one of the first things you notice is a sense of calm underneath your day. The constant mental chatter quiets down, and you feel less reactive to small annoyances. You might find yourself pausing before reacting to a stressful email or a frustrating comment. This pause gives you space to choose how you respond rather than just reacting on autopilot. You also start to feel more connected to the present moment, which makes time feel slower and richer. There's a subtle shift from feeling like life is happening to you to feeling like you're part of it. This emotional shift is not dramatic, but it's deeply satisfying and sustainable. The challenge is keeping this momentum going when life gets busy, which is what we'll look at next. When life gets hectic, it's easy to fall back into old autopilot habits, and that's completely normal. The key is not to aim for perfect consistency, but to have a simple anchor you can return to. That anchor could be your breath, or the feeling of your hands on a steering wheel, or the sound of your own footsteps. When you notice you've been on autopilot for hours, just take one conscious breath and reset. Don't try to catch up or make up for lost time, just start fresh from that moment. This approach removes the guilt and makes it easier to keep going even on chaotic days. Think of it like a gentle nudge rather than a strict rule you have to follow. In the next part, we'll talk about how to deepen this practice so it becomes a natural part of who you are. Over weeks and months, this practice starts to change more than just your quiet moments. It begins to reshape how you move through ordinary tasks without you even forcing it. You might notice you pause before reacting to something frustrating instead of snapping right away, or you catch yourself actually tasting your morning coffee instead of gulping it down while scrolling. The change isn't dramatic at first, but it builds like a slow tide lifting your whole day. What used to feel like a blur of obligation starts to feel like a series of small, real moments. You begin to trust that you can be present even when life isn't perfectly calm. This is the quiet reward of staying with the practice long enough to let it settle in. One of the best parts of this journey is realizing you are not trying to wake up all by yourself. There is a whole community of people who are also learning to live with more presence and less autopilot. If you would like to feel that sense of belonging and support, consider subscribing to the Happy Life Tribe channel. You can also join us at www.happylifetribe.com, where we share ideas and encouragement together. It is a space where you can learn alongside others who are working toward a more peaceful and intentional life. You do not have to have everything figured out to be welcome here. Just showing up and being willing to try is more than enough. I would love to have you as part of this growing community, so come on in whenever you are ready. Even after you've felt real progress, a setback can still hit you out of nowhere. Maybe you have a stressful week at work or a conflict with someone close to you. Suddenly you realize you've been on autopilot for 3 days straight without even noticing. This can feel discouraging, like you've lost all the ground you worked so hard to gain. But here's the truth. Slipping back into old patterns is not a failure, it's part of the process. The fact that you notice the slip at all means your awareness is still alive underneath. These setbacks are actually proof that the practice is working because you can now see what you couldn't see before. The key is not to avoid setbacks, but to know how to gently return when they happen. When you catch yourself back on autopilot, the first step is to stop judging yourself for it. Shame and frustration only keep you stuck in the same fog you're trying to leave. Instead, take one slow breath and simply acknowledge where you are right now. Then pick one small thing you can do with full attention, like feeling your feet on the floor or listening to a single sound. This tiny act of presence is enough to break the spell and bring you back to the moment. You don't need to make up for lost time or double your effort to catch up. Just return gently, like you would guide a friend who wandered off a path. Each time you come back, you strengthen the muscle of awareness a little more. This practice helps anyone who feels like life is passing them by in a blur. It's especially useful if you're someone who spends a lot of time in your own head, worrying or planning. It also helps if you're going through a transition, like a new job, a move, or a loss that makes everything feel unreal. People who feel constantly tired but can't figure out why often find relief here too. The reason it helps so many is that it doesn't require you to change who you are or add more to your plate. It simply asks you to show up for the life you're already living, one moment at a time. Whether you're a busy parent, a student, or someone in retirement, this shift is available to you. It meets you exactly where you are, with no prerequisites or special skills needed. If you want to start right now, here is a grounded way to begin without overcomplicating it. First, pick one routine activity you do every day, like brushing your teeth or walking to your car. Decide that for the next week, you will do that one thing with your full attention. When you do it, notice the physical sensations, the sounds, and the feeling of your body moving. If your mind wanders, just gently bring it back without scolding yourself. That's it. No meditation app, no special timer, no extra time needed. After a week, you can add a second routine if you want, but don't rush. The goal is not to do more, but to be more present in what you already do. This shift is not about becoming a perfectly mindful person who never zones out again. It's about learning to come home to yourself again and again, even when life gets messy. Every time you choose to be present, you are telling yourself that your life matters right now. You are not waiting for the weekend, the vacation, or the big moment to finally feel awake. You are allowing yourself to feel the texture of an ordinary Tuesday afternoon. And that is where real aliveness lives, not in some future version of you, but in this breath, this step, this moment. The practice is simple, but it is also profound because it changes how you experience everything. You already have everything you need to begin, and the only moment you ever have is this one right here. As we wrap up here, I hope you feel a little more permission to slow down and notice your own life today. The shift away from autopilot doesn't have to be dramatic. It can start with one small pause. Thank you for spending this time with me and for choosing to be more awake in your own days. If this video felt helpful, please take a moment to like it and subscribe to the Happy Life Tribe channel. For more gentle encouragement and practical ideas, you can always visit us at www.happylifetribe.com. That online community is full of support, calm living inspiration, and mindful lifestyle guidance for people like you. I hope you carry this sense of presence with you, even just for a few breaths at a time. Take care, and I will see you in the next video.